Kia ora, Star Wars fans. Welcome to Middle-Aged Kiwi Man Collecting Star Wars Figures, and welcome to episode 3 of Legends of TVC. So this is the very intermittent series where I get to talk to legends of the Star Wars TVC community that I really look up to. We've had Chris and Brett from Bantha Skull. We've had the guys from SWTVC. And tonight, or this morning, wherever you are, it is my absolute pleasure to bring on this guy. You'll know him. He's an absolute legend of TVC. It's Tim from Bossk Bounty, and I shall bring him to the stage. Kia ora, Tim. Welcome.
Kia ora. How are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm good.
If that's how you say it.
That was perfect. That was perfect. Yeah, look, just thanks again, Tim, for coming along. I'm sure everybody who is watching will know who Tim is, of course, but would you like to tell us about yourself and where we can find you?
Well, first of all, thanks for inviting me on, Jason. I appreciate it, buddy. We talk quite often, so it's always good to talk to people about the vintage collection where I can. If people that are watching have never watched my channel, I have a channel on YouTube called Bossk's Bounty. I also have a website called Bossk's Bounty and various social channels that kind of go with it, basically. And yeah, I talk about Star Wars, the vintage collection, really, and 3 3/4 inch. That's kind of my passion, really. About it, really.
That's brilliant. Now, look, I do have a little bit of an intro video, and I do apologize in advance. I made this like 2 years ago when I did that silly...
I know what it is.
The Q&A one. But I'm going to chuck it up anyway. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah, hi, I'm Tim from the UK. Obviously, I'm from the UK. I'm wearing a football shirt. I just want to ask some very reasonable questions about TVC, like, why are you not doing certain figures that we all want and would be profitable?
I remember when you first did that video. That was great.
So you do a great job, like, honestly, and you do ask the hard questions about why Hasbro are not doing this and not doing that. So we do appreciate it.
Got to hold these people to account.
Yeah, cool. Now, so if we may, I'd like to ask you a little bit about your origin story. And I know you've talked about bits of it before, but you've been going for a few years now on YouTube. You're up to getting close to 30,000 subscribers now. It's a very popular channel. You seem to get the figures before everybody else in the world, and you do a great weekly Q&A as well. So, would you like to tell us a little bit about how you got started and what got you into it?
There's a few things that happened at the time, I guess. So I think my channel's about 6 years old now, in May, around that time. And part of it was my son, who was watching YouTube channels at the time. He was watching all of those like toy channels where all you can see is their hands and they're opening up surprise things and whatever, you know. And I just thought, you know, these people are, you know, getting millions of people watching them and whatever. And I just thought, I wonder if there's any Star Wars things around. I wasn't a big watcher of YouTube particularly. And the first channel I came across was a guy called Malcolm. He's in Australia. Oh God, I'm forgetting his channel's name now. But I sort of stumbled across some videos of his where he's like checking out vehicles and stuff, and he was kind of moaning about Hasbro a little bit. And I also remember when the Black Series Dewback came out, and that sort of piqued my interest in terms of like buying figures again. Because I always collected Star Wars ever since I played with it as a kid. And then I collected the Power of the Force in whenever that was, and the 1999 Phantom Menace figures and all of those. But from when I got married and had children, and that sort of little gap, I sort of didn't really collect Star Wars. But it was some of the early TVC figures, and then when they did the Black Series, the figures didn't really piqued my interest, but that seeing the Dewback, I was like, wow. So I even reviewed a few Black Series stuff on the very beginning of my channel. But then, as I've said before, with the Black Series, for me, it's like you can have a figure in your hand for like a week, and I don't know, it just doesn't have that specialness for me personally. You know, they look great when they're revealed. You're like, oh my God, that looks fantastic. but then once you have it in hand, I don't know, I kind of lose the love for it pretty quick. So yeah, so I just thought I'd sort of do a channel on what I thought I knew a little bit about or whatever. And over the years, I hope I've got better at it, because some of my early videos are tragic. They really are. But yeah, that's really how it started. Really, it's kind of combination of like my son watching YouTube and then me just finding other channels and just thinking, I'm going to give that a go. I can do that. You know, I never thought then that I'd sort of become what some people say I'm like this voice for the community or whatever. It's hard for me to sort of grasp that, you know, because I'm just a guy making videos as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but I think that's true about you being a voice of the community, and you know, you have a big following, and you know, when you do say something about what Hasbro's doing or not doing, it does carry a lot of weight. So we do appreciate that. Well, actually, I've just quickly jumped to some comments and say g'day to some people. There's some familiar faces in there. So g'day Des T, fellow finalist in the quiz. Nice to see you here. Ray Dunkley, kia ora Ray. Randy, my boy Randy, 5 POA is not okay. Good to see you here, Randy. Daniel Chart, nice to see you too, Daniel. Big sequel trilogy fan Daniel is. You should see his
He's the biggest sequel trilogy fan. He loves it. Like, especially The Last Jedi. He absolutely loves that film. He watches it every day. He collects all the figures, makes dioramas, loves it.
I've heard his Maz's Castle diorama is just off the charts.
You should see it. It is incredible.
Sorry, Daniel. Andre, nice to see you here. Delvian Seek, kia ora, Daniel. Delvian. There's Daniel again. He's referencing the quiz, I think.
That was still hurting.
Psychic Score, kia ora. Rogue Killer, good afternoon. Riley Bob. Nice. And then people saying hi to each other. Baron Morpatuous. Tim is the TVC enforcer. He sure is.
I don't know.
At one with the Force, kia ora, Phil. Phil is a Kiwi Pom. He's back in. Cameron, nice to see you, Cameron. Thanks for coming. Oh, Darth Rock's here. So you mentioned Darth Rock before. You've been on a live stream with Darth Rock. It's another Kiwi.
I have, yeah. Fellow Kiwi, yeah. Of yours. I remember when he first started his channel, he invited me on. I was happy to go on, support him. Nice guy.
Yeah. Got Scott here. Dantooine, kia ora, Dantooine. I don't know what you're talking about, mate. Anyway, yeah, so thanks, Tim. And you talked about the early days, and I think your first video was a Lego, wasn't it?
Yes, that's what I mean. It's like the first few videos, I was just sort of like seeing because I used to watch quite a lot of Lego Star Wars YouTubers. That's kind of the first thing that I used to watch with my son. He used to be obsessed by it, you know. And I just thought I'm going to try and do that, you know. And I thought I'd just practice with a few, like reviewing Lego sets and stuff. And yeah, I was rubbish at it, so I gave the Lego up pretty quickly. There's some really, like, some of the channels that I followed back then are massive now, like huge, you know.
Yeah,
they've done really well.
Yeah, millions and millions. Yeah.
Lego's massively popular, you know, huge. Our community is very, very small compared to the Lego community, believe me.
Yeah, it's quite niche, isn't it? It's quite niche, the TVC, but it's a great community. You're great guys. And look what Darth Rock says here. Tim inspired my wall. It's a great wall. And speaking of your wall, so last year you had a big renovation, didn't you? And so you got a new collecting room, and so it's changed your studio and everything. And how's that all going?
Yeah, it's finished. I will do a room tour soon, but it's just still a bit messy because what I've gained in a collection room, I've lost in loft space. So a lot of the stuff that I had in the loft had nowhere else to go. So
Right.
And I found myself, even though I've got a bigger room, I'm displaying less. If that makes sense. It's crazy because I wanted to display a lot of my things loose. So I've got these like cabinets here with all loose setups in there, and it otherwise that wall there would have been floor to ceiling cards, and I would have been able to get double the amount that I have on there. So I've actually, in terms of like the wall of figures, that's gone now. I can only display a certain amount, but I'm quite happy with it. I quite like the more minimalistic approach to it, although it will probably fill out in time. As more things come out, I'll be like, oh, well, I really want to display that. I've got no room. I'll just put a shelf up in that corner or something,
Yeah.
I don't want it to become cluttered, but I know it will do because, things are just going to constantly come out. But at the moment, I sort of just rotate stuff in terms of the carded anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm the same as you. Like the more carded figures come out, and I'm keeping the carded figures, and I have to find more and more wall space to put them on. It's been quite funny watching Nick Only One Kenobi, and he tries different things. Like he got some big barrel to put in them.
I know, they're nuts, aren't they?
And then he started to put them on the ceiling, and
yeah, I couldn't do
little
that. I couldn't do that. But the issue that I have as well is I also collect the vintage Kenner, I've got a bit of vintage Kenner and I've got the full run. So I wanted that on the wall. And then I've got like a series of the Bossk cards because that's kind of like my focus for vintage Kenner cards. So I've got, I don't know, 15 of those. So that's 15 less TVC cards that can go on the wall straight away because I've got those, So, but yeah, it's all right. It's good in here. And it's also an office as well. I do have to like work up here as well. So have we frozen?
That was me. I'm really sorry. I thought I'd be fine with the internet this morning. I've got 2 teenagers and they sleep in on a Sunday, so I thought internet will be fine, but something dropped out. Sorry about that.
No, we're back now. That's good.
We're back. Sorry about that, everyone. Just as I was talking to you before I froze, you were telling me about we've just been talking about different ways to display things or try and fit more space in.
Yeah, I'm not too sure at what point you cut out, but yeah, I just said that basically because I collect vintage Star Wars as well in terms of the Bosks.
Oh,
yeah. I've got like a run of those with the different card backs with the different offer stickers and things like that. So that I've got like nearly 15 of them. So that's 15 less TVC figures that I can put on the shelves, carded ones. So I try and just display the ones that I really, really, really like, although there's more that I would like to display that I can't, but it's just the way it is. I prefer the loose collection. Basically, I love the card backs, I really do. There's some really special ones out there, but there's nothing quite like that Jabba's palace and putting all the figures in it. It looks amazing. If you'd had that as a kid, you would have been like, whoa, this is like the ultimate.
Yeah, it's an incredible set, and I think last year Hasbro did an amazing job with those sets and that focus. So you had the palace, but also the indoor stuff as well. That was really cool getting all of that. I love the bunker. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like whatever they bring out, some people will moan. It's just a set of doors, but it does, it does create a place for you to put figures around, and it does create that scene. So, I'm not really too sure what else people expect from something like that. It's just, it does what it's supposed to do,
Yeah, and it looks like it did in the movie. So what else?
Exactly.
Can you ask for? Yeah. Well, they announced another one recently in the pipelines, didn't they? It's the Armorer's Forge, and I've seen a lot of 3D printed ones, so it'll be interesting to see what they come up with there.
Yeah, I've got a 3D printed one from the Ian Butler. The Ian Butler one was good. Be interesting to see what they do with it. Yeah.
Let's quickly show. BOE is here. BOE's just put out his movie.
Very topical.
Red Army
BOE.
Bunker. Very tough. Everything Clone Wars. Oh, this is a question for you, I think, Tim. Protective cases. What have you got for your carded collection?
So I used to put all of my figures on the wall in star cases, Protect star cases. There are other makes of those around. They're all much of a muchness now, I think. But because I can display less now, I've put them all in acrylic. Well, in fact, a lot of those are actually graded, which is just another crazy thing that nobody else should do. But there are a few people in the community that like to grade modern Star Wars. So yeah, no, I just, that was always the dream, sort of like to have the all of them in acrylic. So that's what I've managed to do. But of course, 350 of them, that would be a bit excessive. But I don't display. I don't display anywhere near 350 of them. That's the thing. So that's the positive, I guess.
Yeah. No, and those acrylic cases are really hard to get here. Like, you can buy them, so you can buy them from Australia or the UK or the US, but then the postage just kills you because they're, you can't flatten them down or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, they are a pain to get, but they look awesome. They look awesome.
Yeah, so GW Acrylics were the company originally that did those over here, but now Star Action Figures do them. There's others, but the good thing with GW is that you could put your order in and then collect them at Echo, which is every twice a year.
Yeah.
So that's what we used to do. So like go there and come back with this massive box full of acrylic, which, as you say, would have cost probably the same amount as the acrylic to post it.
Special shout out to Brett on Fit. He's just got to 1,000 subscribers. So congrats,
well done, Brett.
Nice to see you here. Cool. Should we talk about the Phantom Menace?
Sure.
It's the 25th anniversary of the Phantom Menace. Today, my time. Tomorrow, your time. And you and a whole bunch of other people just watched it at the movie theaters. What do you think?
Yeah, I went with a friend of mine on the 3rd of May, and yeah, it was great. I've always liked the prequels. I know some people have said they've got better since the sequels came out, but I always like the sequels. At the prequels, sorry. I don't want to say the sequels out loud with Daniel in the room. But no, I always, of course, they were never going to be as good as the original trilogy if you were there when the original trilogy came out. Of course they're not, because they don't hold that same nostalgia, but I always felt they felt like Star Wars. You could tell that George Lucas made them. Issues with the storyline, maybe, I don't know, but I always thought they were quite, some of the dialogue was a bit ropey, but I always thought they were good. And I think what you had to realize is that ultimately that we watched the original Star Wars as kids, and he was making more movies for kids. So you kind of had to have like a bit of a weird character like Jar Jar in there. My son used to absolutely love Jar Jar when he was, 6 or 7 or whatever, and we used to watch it. So, I always liked it. So I was happy to go and see it again on the big screen.
Yeah. And I think also the when episode 1 came out, the weight of expectation of Star Wars fans was just enormous because it had been so long.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved it as well. I remember going to the midnight screening in 1999, and because New Zealand's a little bit ahead, we probably saw it before everybody else.
Yeah.
And I went and saw it 5 times at the theater. And yeah. But I was kind of like, I was just like in the zone to love it. And I kind of just tried to ignore the little kind of cringy bits. But now, as I get older, I find them quite funny. I actually quite like Jar Jar now. He's,
it is what it is. What it is, but I always thought it was. I think you're never going to please everybody, and I think as you say, the expectation at the time, was heavy. But you never, Star Wars changed cinema. You're never going to do that again. He can't do it again, because he's already done it. So whatever he brought out was going to be inferior to the originals, obviously. So anyone going in expecting any different was mad as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, I wasn't one of the people that came out going, "Oh, you've ruined Star Wars and all this." I thought they were all right.
Yeah. I also was a bit weird at that time. So I went to the movies. I saw it at movies 5 times. And I'd heard everyone was loving The Matrix, which was on at the cinema at the same time. And I refused to go and see it because I didn't want to take away from Star Wars box office takings. So I didn't see The Matrix until it came out on, would it have been DVD? A year
Video,
or so
probably.
later or something like that.
VHS
Video,
probably.
yeah, maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's
Well,
a great
you'll have the chance to see The Matrix and Star Wars very soon when the Acolyte comes out. So
yes,
because that's got a bit of both. That's got a bit of both in there, isn't it? So
yeah, that's not far away. That's cool. And the other thing about Phantom Menace, which made it, I think, one of the better prequel movies, was George was still doing practical effects as well. Like there was a lot of miniatures, there was a lot of real sets, and love Revenge of the Sith, but by the time he got to that, it was just all green screen, and you can kind of tell now. So.
Oh yeah. Some parts of it haven't aged too well. The CGI. I would probably say that Revenge of the Sith is probably my favorite of the 3, just because there's a lot of action, just because it's getting closer to the original. The storylines moved on. But Phantom Menace is definitely second. The worst of the 3 for me is the middle one, but I still enjoy all 3 of them. They're good.
Yeah, for sure. So in terms of vintage collection, Hasbro hasn't done a lot to celebrate that anniversary, have they?
No,
doesn't look like we're getting anything this year.
I don't think we will. No, it's really disappointing, to be honest, because both the other lines have had something. You got the retro wave, full wave, and then obviously Black Series had like little Anakin and the Padme Theed figure, 2 that we'd love in TVC, I'm sure. So yeah, a bit disappointing that they're not great at celebrating anniversaries, are they? I mean, obviously the Return of the Jedi was great, but when you analyze that, there wasn't, it was a lot of reissues and kit bashing and stuff like that. There wasn't like new. I think that we got the Piet figure, but then obviously that's one that they can use multiple other times. Apart from that, there wasn't really much sort of new tooling budget spent on Return of the Jedi. Although, as you say, that we had a good. I guess the throne room, you can count that.
Yeah.
But
I'd say 99% of us are displaying it as Jabba's throne room, surely.
Exactly, yeah. And I guess the bunker, in terms of actual figures, so it would have been nice had they brought out like the Rebel Commando, for example. That would have been a real sort of seal or cherry on the cake of the anniversary if they brought that out. So obviously they don't feel that the Phantom Menace is supported by TVC collectors as much as the other lines. I don't know why they're not doing it. It's a shame though.
Yeah, it is.
Not just because of the media that it's from and people do want it. It's because of the other 2 get it. That annoys people, the fact that we're left behind. It feels like,
Yeah. Let's quickly say hello to a couple of people. Jeff Russell's here. You're to Jeff. The uncanny Kyle Walker is here. This is another Kiwi YouTuber. Good to see you here, buddy. Aquilish Doug is here. Top of the morning to you. Q Mighty. Yeah, I think that's exactly what Tim just said. Everyone else got something from Phantom Menace, even retro. And Coleman is here. Nice to see you, Coleman.
So what they did was they packaged it up as a prequel celebration. That's what they did.
Yeah.
So they gave us Dooku and the Phase 1 clone. But I think they would have done those anyway because the Dooku was fan requested. And the Phase 1 clone was a reuse of the Phase 2 clone. So,
low hanging fruit. And Django Fett as well. Deluxe
Django Fett as well. But what's new about that one? Like it's, it's the same body as what? A few of the ones that there's a few of them, isn't there, that they've used it from?
Yeah.
Trying to think of what's his name? Pre-Vizsla. I think that's what they've used.
Yeah. It's funny. I was listening the other day to the SWTVC podcast, and it kind of cycled over to the very first one in their series a couple of years ago, and they're talking about Mandalorians, and they're like, Hasbro, give us some Mandalorians. Give us all the Mandalorians. You could make this one and this one and this one. And it just cracked me up because 2 years later we're going, oh, we've got enough Mandalorians. Just calm down.
I think it's just because they've all coming at once, all in the same wave. Like it just seems to be Mandalorian after Mandalorian. And but having said that, and I mentioned this to Chris at Bantha Skull the other day when we're messaging each other, Hot Toys announced the Obi-Wan, didn't they? In the Mandalorian, I was like, I'd love that in TVC. Why haven't they done that? I'll take one more Mandalorian, him, or maybe two if they did Gar Saxon as well, and then you can just leave it alone, just like no more.
Yeah. So, and that one, the Obi-Wan, just literally needs a new head, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it looked great. That Hot Toys.
Yeah. So, in terms of vintage collection episode 1 figures, if you were celebrating the anniversary this year, which figures do you think they should have done, or would you have liked to have seen?
Well, I think the two that they've done in the Black Series they should have done. That's two that I would have picked. I would have picked Little Annie because the only one that we've got is based on him being in the film for like 30 seconds at the end. Padawan, I always wonder why they do that. Give you the outfit of. I recorded my Ask Boss Bounty today for tomorrow, and I was talking about this figure here, the Han Solo from The Force Awakens. Like, why give him in that outfit? Why not give us the main outfit that he wears throughout the whole thing? So that's one, Little Annie, and they should have done the Padme in the Theed Palace. And then, Watto, I'd get Watto out there. Brand new Watto, Sebulba, There's quite a few, really. Captain Panaka, I think, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
That's what I would have done.
Yeah.
A new Darth Maul.
Yeah, definitely. The mains, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, those figures are so old. And...
Yeah, that's the thing. I hesitated mentioning those two because there's a lot of people out there that think, oh, we've already got those. Like, stop wasting money on the new one. Although I do believe that they do need updating. So I tried to sort of talk about some figures that we don't really have in TVC already. But yeah, absolutely. Like, we know that the mains from the Phantom Menace, the two Jedi and Darth Maul, all three of those need updating, and as much as the mains do from A New Hope.
Definitely. Darth Wizzy Wizard is here, all the way from Canada. Hey, Wizzy.
Newt Gunray does T says, yeah, it's another one.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we've got Dolphy to define.
Yeah, that's random. I
know that's the thing. I just think sometimes the choices of characters are just. I mean, that's almost like purposely going deep cut rather than giving you the main version.
Yeah. And I think first vintage collection, came hot on the heels of Legacy collection, things like that. So they already had some of the mains and they were getting into real deep cut characters. That line's still great today for some of those ones, like Wyosley and the Rancor Keeper. I still don't have a Rancor Keeper, a good Rancor.
Oh, do you not?
I need to get one of those. No.
Yeah, I have that. They're expensive on the secondary market, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's And whatever happened to, the finish the 96 kind of commitment from about 3 or 4 years ago? It seems to have, I don't know if they're really into that anymore.
Well, I'm not sure if it is them or us that committed to it. I think they started to use I don't know if it's a hashtag or just like a slogan
Hashtag.
under. I think it's when they did the Power Droid. I was actually there when they revealed that. That was at New York Toy Fair. So I went over there to New York Toy Fair, all the way there on my own, just for them to reveal a Power Droid and maybe something else. I'm pretty sure that they used the slogan underneath there is either finish the 96 or complete the 96 or whatever, So people just cottoned onto that, obviously, as you would. But in terms of finishing the 96, there's some characters in there that to finish the 96, they've got to make some really obscure ones, and I don't think they will. Unless they were going to finish the line, I don't know, at one point and just go, right, before we finish the line, let's just do them, get them done, But like, how are they ever going to do a man-a-man, Just can't see them doing it.
Yeah. And John Lindquist's favorite, you're the Rancor Keeper. What's that all about?
Oh, it's Obi-Wan Kenobi. Someone said on one of his videos that I look like the Rancor Keeper, like the figure, not the bloke.
What?
I don't know. Like, and then it's like, yeah, they based the head sculpt of that figure on me. I don't know. But
Not the body, though. Surely not the body.
I don't know. You don't get to see me from this far, from there down. So I haven't got bingo wings, so I'm all right.
Nice. So in terms of the, you just mentioned you've filmed the Ask Bossk Bounty. It's coming out tomorrow.
Yeah.
How did you get into that, and what makes that's a very successful series, isn't it? It's a good one, and you managed to keep up the content every week. And what was the origin behind that?
I don't know. I've come up with various ideas for series on my channel over the years. Some have been successful, some haven't. I've done things like Throwback Thursday, where I've looked at an older figure or whatever, and but I thought that would be a good one because it'd get the community involved, like get me closer to the community, if you like, engage with the community, as it were. And I just thought that would be a good way of doing it. It's not something that I would do. I think I had to get my channel to a certain point before I could do that. So it was always on my mind to do something like that. But, so yeah, it's just one of them. I was hoping people would enjoy it. And, the first one went really well. Got a lot of good feedback for it, and then that was it really. I just carried on doing it, and then 221 episodes later it's still going. Yeah but no, I love doing that one. It's the most work. It takes me the longest time out of any of my videos. It takes a good 6 hours, I'd say, of my day.
Wow.
But I love doing it. Yeah. So I said to you today that I've done it today because I'm out tomorrow. I'd usually do it on a Sunday, but I'm out tomorrow, so I'd made it today and put it out early for my members and what have you. But yeah, no, it's a good one. That
it's awesome. And incredible, like 220 odd episodes and still going strong, still getting heaps of questions. But do you ever get one like repeats and you're just like, oh, I think I've answered this like 50 times already? Or
yeah, I mean, luckily, I would say is that I get enough questions in each one that I can't. There's no way I can physically fit them all in. So I have to sort of, unfortunately, sometimes I will actually record me answering one, and then as I'm editing, I can't fit it in. That actually happened today. So I actually left 2 questions out that I answered, and I'll never say which ones they are because, you know, they'll be like, people, why don't you put it in? It's like, because I like to keep the episodes in between 20 and 25 minutes. I never like to go over that. People just get bored of it, you know. And yeah, so there is the odd time where I look at a question and I go, yeah, I've answered that like 5 times before. And then I say to myself, well, the last time I answered it was maybe 10 episodes again. They won't remember. You know? Like David Brent, they won't remember. But no, seriously, that I guess the funniest time is that when you've answered a question about a topic and then you get the same question. It's like, well, you didn't watch the video, did you? Like, you know, and then they might comment later and say, I should have watched the whole video. You know, I left this question like after 3 minutes and I should have carried on because it was the last question. Scratch it off, sort of thing. You're like, okay, whatever. But no, yeah, I love it. I love it.
You didn't watch the whole video, you're banned. Chucked from the channel.
Yeah, no, I love doing that. It's great. Because I don't really have the like I do go on Facebook and Instagram and things like that. Morning, Blake. But I don't have a lot of time to sort of hang around in those places for that often. Have you frozen again, Jason? I think he's frozen. Are you back? Are you back?
Sorry about that.
No
Dropped
worries.
off again.
Yeah, I was just saying that I don't really have time to. I am on Instagram and Facebook, but I don't have time to sort of, you know, have conversations with other people in the community on those channels. So me doing the Q&A series is a great way for me to be able to do that.
Nice. Just going to highlight this comment by Randy. If you go to Bantha Skull regularly, you know what that's all about. This is the thigh swivel guy.
He answers it. He asks it every episode in my comments. Every single one. He does not like the it's like that. You know, when you've got a friend that like repeats the same thing over and over and over again, and the joke is like, oh, so you don't like that then, yeah? Do you know what I mean? I'd love to meet John Morin and go, something tells me that you don't like the thigh swivel.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's so good. It's so persistent. And then it's like, yeah. And then if you say you don't mind them, you get you weirdo that likes thigh swivel. I love that.
Yeah.
No, I actually call that. I call that the John Morin joint. I don't even call it thigh swivel anymore.
Yeah, he's you know, obviously I don't know who it is or whatever, but it's an interesting character to have that persistence to like keep mentioning it on every video, even if I haven't mentioned the thigh swivel.
Yeah, you can do a compilation.
I've noticed it on Bantha Skulls. Yeah, I've noticed it on Bantha Skulls comments as well. Yeah,
very, very nice. Speaking of new joints and stuff like that, you've recently received and reviewed the Zeb figure, and just quickly you showed me backstage, and you're loving it.
Yeah, I think I said to you that, you know, I don't claim to be the biggest fan of Rebels. I enjoyed it, but for me, live action always trumps animation. Although I love the Clone Wars as well. I know some people out there just, you know, grew up with the Clone Wars and they're just like, you know, it's the best. That is their Star Wars. But just from a pure figure point of view, this is just unbelievable. It really is great, and I can't wait for everyone else to get him in hand. You know, because if they can make every figure this good, then we're onto a winner.
Yeah.
So yes, brilliant.
Well, that's just it. When they're making new figures, they are absolutely outstanding. The Count Dooku was outstanding.
Yeah.
The issue we've had so far this year, especially coming off an awesome 2023 for TVC, is this year where it's not a lot of new figures.
No, and I think a lot of those are, because obviously they only have a certain amount of new figures that you get per year. There's a budget for it. And I think the majority of those are caught up in those Rebels figures for a start, and the new media. So all of those Acolyte figures are going to be new. Skeleton Crew, I think it's common knowledge now that was delayed. It was supposed to be at the start of this year. Now it's been moved to the end of this year. So if the Acolyte is anything to go by, that we're getting the Acolyte figures at the time that the show's coming out, then I presume we would have had the same with Skeleton Crew. So there's probably 3 or 4 Skeleton Crew figures like planned, maybe. So if that's the case, then you can see where all that sort of money for the new figures goes, and maybe that's why we're not seeing a lot of them now, because we've got to wait for that Skeleton Crew to come out because it's been delayed. Maybe if it had come out in January when it was supposed to, or whatever, we would have had those figures by now, and we'd be talking about 5 or 6 new figures already.
Yeah, and it will be quite nice to have some figures come out while the show is on for a change. I think the last time that happened for me was during the Obi-Wan Kenobi series.
Yeah,
I managed to pick up that wave early, but
yeah, you were the first to get those, weren't you?
Yeah, randomly.
Yeah, New Zealand. Yeah, you guys got them.
Yeah. And then they started turning up again like 18 months later, so you can still walk into the same shop now and pick up a Reva or an Obi-Wan or a Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Because everyone got them ages ago.
Yeah, no, it is nice that they're bringing out them when the series hits. That's, we just got to hope that the series is good. God.
Yeah.
Otherwise those figures will flop, that's the thing.
Yep, absolutely. That's the risk, right? Yeah.
Yeah, which is why we don't see walls and walls of new figures for a new show anymore. The Mandalorian was a huge hit. It almost went mainstream, or pretty much did go mainstream with Baby Yoda and whatever. And then they thought, right, now we can do it. And they, we've had countless. I haven't done a count recently, actually, but I would say that the Mandalorian card backs, it's got to be up there now with being the most in the line after Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi has always been far and away we've had the most, especially after last year as well. It just increased it even more. But the Mandalorian must be second, I think. It must be. We must absolutely have like 30 cards of with the Mandalorian logo. Must have.
Yep. Yeah.
So
I've got them in front of me, and there's loads and loads.
Yeah.
And loads.
So but it took them to they weren't prepared to do that until they realised that it was a hit.
Mm.
And you can kind of understand it, because they did get burnt with the sequels. There's no doubt. Last Jedi anyway.
Yeah. I thought for a second there you were going to do a count of Grogu's. Have you ever got their return on investment for a tiny little mold that's like that big?
It's crazy.
Released it so many times.
Yeah, we've got too many Grogu's. That's a fact. Yeah.
That's fun. Let's show this one. I think I missed that Q&A, but that's funny.
No way, was it? Actually, I seem to remember something about that. Yeah.
And Dooku easily figure of the year. Yep. That was one of the first figures I got this year, and it is amazing. And it's be interesting to see if it can be topped.
See, I think Hu Yang would have been a really, really good figure had they got the colors right. And also, if they just spent just a little bit more on it, when you look at him at the black compared to the Black Series one, you get the paint applications on the accessories. Just do that,
Yeah.
you'll
Yeah.
save yourself
So
a
we've got,
whole like barrage of abuse basically online, just by
yeah.
treating it that special, just treating it like it should be treated.
Yeah, we've got a little Instagram group of New Zealand collectors, and it's called the Disney Store. And so anytime a new Disney droid set or whatever comes out, people go on there and someone orders it, and then we get the free shipping because
Right.
you order a whole bunch of them. And yeah, and someone posted there about that Ahsoka droid set, and I was like, no, I'm not interested in that set because Chopper's coming to TVC, Hu Yang's coming to TVC, so I don't need it. And then that Hu Yang droids Disney factory one has got more paint apps than the TVC one. I'm just like, what? I
Yeah.
wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. I mean, I personally feel it's underscaled and it's obviously lacking in articulation compared to TVC. But you're right. When I compared them, I couldn't believe that the TVC version just has a plain black torso. I mean, he's a droid with wires. You can see the wires are sculpted in. Why wouldn't you paint those? And this is an all new figure as well. You should be treating this like, this is what we're fighting for. This, when people talk about balancing the scales, it doesn't necessarily always mean about, oh, they've got this figure, we must have this figure, or blah 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 blah. It's like the figures that we are getting, you've got to do them properly, like the Andor Aldani mission one with the incorrect legs. Black Series one's perfect, just that little bit more, and if you're not prepared to do it, don't do it at all. Do a different figure. Like,
Agreed.
you've got to get them right. I think you've got to get them right. And I think Steve Evans put that poll out about, accuracy, quality.
Yeah.
And that to me is a very difficult thing to answer because they all matter. And I found myself putting nostalgia last, which is crazy because TVC is about nostalgia. But when you're getting figures like Hu Yang and that Aldani one, then the quality and the accuracy should come top because they're not doing it.
Yeah. Agree. And the other kicker for that Hu Yang was it was in the way with Beach Ball Grogu, another Mandalorian, and then so it wasn't like a super unique wave with lots of new sculpts and expense. It was kind of like a cheap wave. So to cheap out on Hu Yang was crazy.
Yeah, if they're looking at waves of, as like a portion of the budget, and they're saying, right, so in this wave we're putting that repack, he'll help us pay for X, Y, and Z. If they're doing it like that, then you're absolutely right. Yeah, Hu Yang should be nailed, because the rest of them were all easy, cheap ones for them to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, this is great idea for content, Tim. Oh, sorry, not that one. Why is you pipeline? This one here.
Yeah, worst to first. Yeah, so that's a series I like doing as well. Yeah, worst to first of Grogu's. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
I mean, you'd have to try and figure out which Grogu came with which set because there's only like 2 different molds. I couldn't.
They're all mixed up now that I wouldn't be able to tell. I'd have to go back to the packaging or back to my review and look. That one's got his ears down or his eyes are, closed or whatever. To tell the difference because apart from the one with the snowy effect on his feet,
yeah,
they all look pretty similar to me. So.
Yeah, see, out of luck, Aquilish, it's too much work. Sorry, mate. It's too hard. Justin Riley's here. Hasbro should have the BB out by now. The Boss Bounty, the BB. What's the BB?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think that's what we're talking about. Hopefully it's going to get better.
Yeah, I mean, there are some good things to look forward to. Let's not, so there's certain things that have been pipelined. What's that?
Bad
Oh,
Batch.
Bad
BB
Batch.
is Bad Batch. Sorry,
Yeah,
of
of
course it
course.
is.
Yeah. So we've got the Jabba to look forward to. Okay. We've got Cobb Vanth got pipelined, right?
Yes.
So
Yep.
we've got a Cobb Vanth to look forward to. We've got the Blurg to look forward to. And these are all things that we've been asking for. We've asked for world building and creatures and what have you. So there's that to look forward to. Trying to think what else has been pipelined.
We've got the E-Wings coming out this year.
The E-Wing, yeah, is like the new vehicle for the year. So there are certain things to be looking forward to, but yeah, in the main, the actual figures themselves has been a bit, and if you're not into Rebels, for example, and you're not really bothered about new media, then you're going to be really disappointed, because the great figures of this year are definitely the Rebels figures, like in terms of, not the character, the figure. The Zeb is amazing. The Kanan looks out of this world. So, if you don't like Rebels and you don't like those characters, there's two new tools that you're missing out on straight away. So,
Yeah.
and talking about doing things properly, like elbows on the that sort of thing. It's like, come on, like, just spend that bit more money and get it right.
It's literally all he does in Return of the Jedi is elbows.
Yeah.
There's nothing else that moves.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
Exactly.
Just actually of those ones that you rattled off there, really crazily, that Jabba the Hutt figure is not available in New Zealand. Like, we can't pre-order it anywhere.
Because it's a Pulse
we've been
exclusive.
able to.
Is that why?
Yeah. Possibly. Yeah.
I think it's a Pulse exclusive.
So
Because
some
it's still
of them,
available.
we can.
It's still in stock over here. I think it went out of stock in the US, but I think on Pulse UK, I think it's still in stock.
Okay, well, I might look into that.
That doesn't help you really.
But yes, well, sometimes these things end up on Amazon, which is actually quite handy because they can be cheap sometimes. So maybe just wait.
What about Robot Kingdom? Do you ever use them? They're in Hong Kong. They might be able to.
Yeah.
They might have it.
Yeah. Gary from Taiwan might get it.
Yeah. Hey, buddy.
Next year. Only one. Nice to see you. We were talking about all your innovative ways to display more figures before.
Yeah.
Astromech. Yeah. A lot of people are going to want that one.
Yeah, this is the thing, isn't it? Putting desirable characters behind an expensive ship or playset. It's not on really, but it sells the vehicle, doesn't it? Like,
yeah.
I mean, I want the vehicle as well, so I'm that's good for me. But there are people out there that just carded collectors and that's it, and I feel sorry for those people.
Yeah, and we've got a rumored HasLab or a slightly leaked HasLab coming up. And one of the things I've always said, if it is the Cantina, which we think it is, that I wouldn't like to have the Tonica sisters included as part of that set. I would prefer them to be a separate set that comes in, one of those 2 packs.
Yeah. So everyone can get it. Yeah.
Everyone can get it. Yeah, and everyone can get, if you want an opener and a carded, you don't have to throw down for 2 HasLabs, which is the ghost was ridiculous here. So I think it was $4.99 US, and you could order it through EB Games in New Zealand, and it works out to be like 1,300 New Zealand dollars, which is more like 800 or 900 US. It's like the markup is just insane.
Yeah, we have the same on certain items. It's not as bad as that. you know, but I'm pretty sure the Jabber was one of those. The Jabber in the US, you know, it should have been either equal, you know, the same amount of dollars as pounds, because, you know, they've got sales tax and all those sorts of things. But it wasn't. It was quite a bit more expensive. I think it's the Jabber anyway. And there's been other cases where it's been like that as well. And you just think, well, where's this extra £20 come from? So, but it's not. I know where. I know it's nowhere near as bad for you guys, and you're probably actually closer to the factories as well, aren't you? So it's a bit.
A bit
weird.
When I got my Razor Crest, I was actually thinking that because it was all during the COVID pandemic and stuff like that. So there were the delays to, you know, getting it to the US, and then I'd ordered it through freight forwarder. So it left Hasbro. I can't remember exactly. It might have been like California or something like that. Went all the way down to Florida where my PO box was, and then went back up America, and then I could see it going back across the ocean, and it's like across the Pacific Ocean. Like it would have been much quicker if I was getting it straight from the factory.
But couldn't you order the Razor? That was the first one that they did do internationally, right? The Razor Crest, wasn't it? Did they not do that? What is your shop? Is it EB Games or something like that? Is it? Or
we got EB Games, so they're an Aussie outfit, and so sometimes I think EB Games Australia gets the stock for Australia and New Zealand. So sometimes New Zealand's like the leftovers. But for the Razor Crest, there was another online retailer, Mighty Ape. So I actually ordered one from Hasbro directly and one from Mighty Ape.
Right.
And ended up being about the same price. But I'm pretty sure the New Zealand retailer probably took a bath on it because they set their price before the shipping.
Right.
You know, that crisis kind of just... So they don't do it anymore. And then EB Games have put up their price. And I think that's why, because they probably just got hammered by the shipping cost.
Yeah.
Still don't know where I'm going to put the Ghost.
Me neither, mate. Me neither. I might have to get a little table for it. I've got a space potentially over in the corner there where I can get a new table and put it on top of that. Maybe I definitely do want to display it 100% because I want, you know, to put, you know, these guys with it, you know. Because as I said, you know, even if I do really like Rebels, I don't claim to be the biggest fan of it, but the figures are fantastic. So,
yeah,
because I don't know if you agree with this, but like certain, like Andor's the biggest culprit of this, I guess, and I don't want to criticize it because I absolutely love Andor, but in terms of like toys, you know, I think a lot of Disney Star Wars sort of characters have been a bit dull, and do you know what I mean? To make a toy out of, you know, and obviously Rebels, they're like really vibrant colors, and you know, you know, like with vintage Kenner, you had like Walrus Man in his like bright purple thing or orange thing, with purple limbs, you know, that kind of thing. You know, Star Wars figures aren't always sort of like in a grey long coat or whatever, you know. It's just, you know, like, you know, for a DJ, for example, in The Last Jedi, I mean, you know, who wants a figure of that?
Yeah, no one apparently. But I definitely agree with you on Andor. Like, it was a fantastic show. Absolutely loved it. But then people say, I want to get a Kino Loy figure, and it's like, it's literally a dude in a white jumpsuit with an orange stripe. Yeah, and it would be a boring diorama to have.
Exactly, that's kind of my point. It's almost like when you see these characters on screen, you're like instantly, I want to, you know, I want a figure of that. I have to have a figure of that. I could, you know, I can live without a Kino Loy in his prison outfit. You know, I can live without that. What I can't live without is, I say live without, you know, it's not life and death situation, but you know, we need a Dead Ramiro, we need a Luthen. just the main dudes, you know, ones that would have been easy to do, like the Black Series got with the Imperial guy with the poncho, you know,
Yeah.
the guys that look a bit like Mud Troop. I've got a Mud Trooper here. The guys that look a bit like that, you know, because those ones are like army builders. Like, I'm sure there's people out there that would like to have maybe 3 or 4 of those, with an Imperial officer standing in front and then Dedra standing next to them. You know, that's what I would do with those, you know. So, you know, they're not the most pretty of outfits to look at, like a grey or black suit or whatever, but I'd still want figures of those. But yeah, the prison ones, I can, you know, I'm not really fussed about those.
Yeah. You know, you're right about the army builders, and they also had that little vehicle as well. That would be a cool one to have in the vintage collection. Whole bunch of riot troopers, storm troopers.
Yeah, the little speeder with the Stormy on the back.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's very,
I mean, that was great.
Kenner-esque.
Yeah, and that was me and Nick talk about Andor quite a lot. Nick Only One Kenobi, and you know, we both love it. And that final episode for me is like the best that Disney Star Wars have put out, apart from, you know, Rogue One is great, but that final episode with the funeral march and the music and the way it built up and it swelled and it just ended up kicking off, and incredible. I absolutely loved that. I've watched it far too many times. Nick says to me, "Oh, you know, I don't like to watch things too many times because I don't want to, you know, get bored of it or wear it out." You know, but I can't help it. I've watched Andor through maybe 5 or 6 times, and that one episode so many times. It's crazy.
Yeah, I've watched it a few times. It's a great episode. I was gonna say to my mate, Totally Taylor, how you going, mate? Cassian Andor. Yeah, the Cassian figure is cool. It's a really good figure. And the B2 emo is cool.
Yeah, so for example, the female character, what's her name? Sartha. Vel Sartha, is it?
Yeah, Vel Sartha.
So that is what I'm talking about. That's like, you know, it's a bit of a dull figure, isn't it? But that's how she's dressed in because it's very military. It's, you know, it's quite sort of dark. So Andor isn't necessarily the sort of show that you could make a toy line out of, but adult collectors, you know, are going to want certain characters from it.
Yeah. And Vel Sartha is definitely one of those things where Hasbro were probably shown the character and told really she's really important, and yeah, she kind of is. But the figure doesn't even look anything like the actress. It's like,
no. And on the, you know, what I'm trying to say is, like, swinging on the pegs, that figure just doesn't look appealing, does it? You know, it's not gonna catch your eye, you know.
Yeah. Kind of the opposite of that 3-minute execute order 66 sequence in Revenge of the Sith, where you just like all those amazing clone troopers just flash by really quick. You're like, I want that one. I want that one.
Yeah.
Just
in Ahsoka. Is that what?
I just said in Revenge of the Sith. You know, way back in 2005, when they, you know, he does that whole.
Oh yeah, or Exco. Yeah, sorry. I thought you were talking about the Ahsoka flashback. Yeah. No, yeah.
I did like that too.
Yeah, it goes to all the different worlds, doesn't it? So you've got like the 212, the 501st, you've got the Elite 41st in Kashyyyk, and yeah. I talked about I talked about them today in my video.
Oh yeah, it's well overdue.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you how many of those I'd buy. It's nuts. My clone turbo tank is just sitting there saying, "Give me the troopers." You know, at the moment I'm going to put the white clone troopers that you get in the 4-pack. That's what I'm going to use them for, my turbo tank.
Nice.
So, but I would prefer it to have a bunch of these guys.
Yeah. It's such a cool look, but that figure is just so awful, and it's tiny, and
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah,
really
this is
pose
the Commander. This is the comic pack one, but it's the same mold, isn't it? It's just got a removable helmet instead. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's undersized, isn't it? It's got swivel hips and a really awkward swivel on his torso. But they look good. That's the thing.
Yeah, they look cool. Yeah. I agree with Nick here about wanting Dedra Miro, because then at least you've got a female officer sculpt. That would have been awesome. She's a fantastic character.
Yeah.
And yeah, I haven't played Jedi Fallen Order, so I have no connection to.
I've played Fallen Order, but I haven't played the one where we've got the Kestis in the ISB uniform, the Survivor. And it made me laugh, actually, because I was on a live stream with Chris from Bantha Skull, and I was kicking off saying, why are they doing, Kestis in Imperial outfit? This is when they revealed it. We're on a live stream, and I said, who the hell wants that? And Chris goes, well, I do, and I wasn't expecting him to do it because I didn't know whether he played the game or not. But my point that I was trying to get across in that live stream, which I didn't articulate too well, is that if they're going to use that body in white, then give us Wolf Yularen. Like, there's so many other characters that I think more people would like than, that game. You have to have bought the brand new console to play it on. You can't. I haven't got a good enough console to play that version of the game on. So I've never seen that character in that uniform. So it doesn't really speak to me. Whereas Wolf Yularen has been in the OT, Rebels, I think. Has he been in the Clone Wars? I can't remember. He's been in Rebels,
Wars,
and he's been in Andor. Like, he's all over the place. Like, it just didn't really make sense to me. But
get more moustaches in the TVC line. We still need Bob Hudsall from A New Hope. Who hears the ceremony at the end of the New Hope, and he's got that massive walrus moustache.
Oh yeah.
So I just brought this one up. This is my mate Phil, and this is why you're on here. This is why you're on Legends of TVC, because I think you guys all do this. You ran the Last Figure Standing. You participate in the Q&As. The SWTVC boys do a great job with their March Madness as well. So the TVC community does a lot for Hasbro in terms of their market research, and they've admitted that as well. They go, oh yeah, we watch all those things, and that stuff's really great. So you're like a free sounding board.
I think the issue with it is that occasionally we can have an effect. So like Dooku, for example, is 100% because he did so well in March Madness over the years and ended up winning it, I think, in the final year. So that's just telling Hasbro, make this figure, and hopefully it's sold well, because otherwise they won't ever listen to us again. But the problem that you've got is that that's just one. They've always got their schedule. They've always got new media coming out. So they've only ever got I don't know how many slots that they can actually put in a fan requested figure into their lineup. I think 2025 will be an interesting year to see what they do.
Yeah.
And now that Steve Evans is on board as well, so 2026. Because I feel that he's going to listen to the fans a lot more and take notice of these things a lot more. It's amazing. It's the as you say, it's free market research for them. We're doing the job for them, really.
Yeah, that is absolutely right. I'm just going to bring something up. Oh,
but as Chris from Bantha Skull has said, as Chris from Bantha Skull has said before, some of the figures that he wants, he would never suggest as something that they should make, because he knows that they would fail or they wouldn't do well enough to, So we do have to be a little bit careful about, the things that we sort of suggest or talk about that we want. And obviously, maybe that's why Dooku took so long, because they just wanted to see that consistent, you know, that it's not like a flash in the pan. Everyone wants it 1 minute and then the next minute they want something else. You know, it's consistently being asked for and then they deliver it.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, we threw the cat amongst the pigeons this year in March Madness by voting Pong Krell as number one, didn't we?
Yeah.
Have at it, Hasbro.
Yeah.
Speaking of Chris from Bantha Skull, I've got this incoming transmission. If you just like to hold for a second.
Oh, we'll be.
I'm getting old. I don't have time for this. Make Luke Skywalker. Make the main characters.
He's with that message. Make the mains, Hasbro.
Yeah, and you know, Leia is being done. If the HasLab is what everyone thinks it is, then that would also point maybe to them doing the other ones.
Yep.
So
yeah,
and I mean, you know, Patrick did say that Leia was the first of them. You know, he did say that. So
yeah. And next year is, of course, it is the 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith. So that figure you showed just before, and there's a whole bunch of mains in that. And I know Victoria and the SWTVC guys were talking, I think, last year to try and put out the list of characters that they could do to get Hasbro thinking like 18 months in advance. And of course, for Daniel Chart, it's also the 10-year anniversary of The Force Awakens. So there's a couple of anniversaries next year that they could focus on.
It's also the 40th anniversary of the Power of the Force cards with the coins.
Yes, yeah. Wow. Yep.
So, you know, there's a couple. I think I read Chris's article about it actually, and there's some there that they could kind of repack. I mean, Luke Skywalker would be better on that new Stormtrooper body that we've got.
Yeah.
But if they didn't want to spend money on it, then could they just repack the one that we've got? Just get him on that card with the coin. I don't know. And then there's some others maybe that they could do. Han in Carbonite, just get him out again on a card with a coin. You know, I'm not talking about these in mainline. I'm just sort of thinking as like a, you know, a bit like they did with the droids cards or whatever. Just like a bit of fun in the line. You know, collect them if you want. If you don't want them, it doesn't matter, sort of thing. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Endor Luke, that's another one they could just repack.
Endor Luke, yeah. And then maybe, you know, like the Ewoks. So you've got Warwick and Romba, you know.
Yeah.
Just repaint Lumat and get them out, for God's sake. Like, you know, you've already repainted Lumat before. Just, you know, because they're not going to tool up a new Ewok, are they? So
Blake asked this question, which I think is a good one. What do you think?
Well, I would have thought, judging by how long things take, that a lot of 2025 would have already been planned and sewn up. Having said that, you know, things do and can change. So maybe you can have an influence to maybe the back end of 2025. I don't know. Certainly 2026, 100%. Whatever comes out in 2026 will be under his like remit, you know.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of what will be out, particularly in the first half of next year, will more than likely have already been planned, I think.
Coleman, that's a good point. Everyone's talking about new Fanboy Luke, but I want Ben Kenobi and new Han Solo too. Absolutely. And they're always top of the March Madness, and they were both high on last figure standing, weren't they?
Yeah. And, you know, as I said, if the HasLab is what everyone thinks it's going to be, they don't change it for whatever reason, then I would kind of expect those, the three, the Luke, Han, and Ben. I'd probably stop at Chewy. You know, maybe they wouldn't bother doing a new Chewy, because they seem to be happy with putting that one out there every now and then anyway. But certainly those mains, because I think even without the HasLab, I think they were planning, or would have planned to do those at some point anyway, purely because you know, that, as I say, they've been asked for, and they, when they announced Leia, he did say that it's the first of. That doesn't 100% guarantee it, but it's a big clue, isn't it?
It's Randy saying.
Non-canon film.
He's in the Daniel Chart school of thought about the sequels.
You need to be a little bit careful with that, because what I wouldn't want them to do is give us that Lando again on a. We do not want that General Lando on a Power of the Force card.
Oh yeah, it's come out so many times.
Yeah.
I saw a custom the other day, and somebody had totally fixed the cape, and it looked so much better with a decent cape. And I think they must have put the Bespin Lando head on it as well. It looked amazing.
Yeah. No, yeah, I've seen people do the head, 100%.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say as well, so it must be 30 years since the Power of the Force 2, so since the modern line began next year.
When was that?
1995.
95, 96, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, maybe they'll do, because they've done that in the Black Series, haven't they? They gave you those Power of the Force cards. They put Luke and Leia on those orange Power of the Force cards, and I think they did some of the green ones as well. I think this is a question I put out to the community in one of my videos a couple of weeks ago, is that what, you know, the vintage collection cards, forgetting the droids ones and things like that, is the classic racetrack design. That's what it's all about. You know, would people accept or want them to put like a mini version of that Black Series one that they did, you know, like the green and the orange cards? I don't know. I wouldn't be too fussed about something like that. I would love, you know, the yak face with the coin. That's definitely something they should do.
Yeah.
I was always in the mind originally that they should have just kept that, because it came with the barge. It's quite special. They should, you know, I quite like the fact that that's the only one that's there. But the more I think about it, the more it'd be quite nice if they did do all of them, the last 17 on those cards. Yeah.
I agree. Keep it to the original kind of Kenner style.
Yeah.
I think we definitely need EV99.
Yeah. But that's the thing. That's my thinking behind it. Like, if they were going to do like Luke and Han Solo, Carbonite, it's, you know, there's not too much investment going on there. You know, maybe they could throw in like an EV99 where it is a new tool, and then they, you know, you get the Return of the Jedi card in the main line, or as a pack-in with like I don't know, I want to say the Cantina, but I don't particularly want him in that, you know, because I want it to be a New Hope. But something like that, you know. And then you do like the Power of the Force card with the coin in like a, I don't know, like a fan channel wave or something like that, or, you know, the exclusive wave. You know, that's the only way that you could get Simu out, you know. Put him in like a Death Star set or something, carded on a Return of the Jedi card, and then you have the Power of the Force card with the coin in another way. So they're making double the money, you know.
Yeah.
And I think Miko has talked about Barada. He's another one. You know, maybe you could leverage some of Kithaba to make a Barada, you know.
Yeah, they're close with a lot of them. They're close. So, what just thinking in terms of the things pipelined or the things that could be coming up, is there anything you were really excited for this year?
Well, the layer. I mean, I know a lot of
Mm,
people said it should have had soft goods or whatever. I still think it looks good. You know, they've gone
yeah,
for
looks amazing.
screen accuracy over, being able to sit down and that kind of thing. I'm more often than not an advocate for soft goods, but I think it looks good. So I'm looking forward to getting that one in hand and checking it out. I'm looking forward to the blurg. Really looking forward to that. 88, I guess. just so you can, just because you can go in there, yeah. And I've had to buy 2 of them because I do want to keep one of those carded because it is the classic Kenner card. They've done that one justice.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the Acolyte, so I can't comment on whether it's good or not. So I'm not excited for the figures at this moment in time. If the series blows me away, then the figures become more important, and then I start to feel that the main character, the guy that was in Squid Game, all of a sudden that figure becomes more important, and more excited for it.
Yeah. And we got the Ghost coming. That's going to be interesting.
Of course.
Apart from a couple of shots of the packaging, there haven't been, when the barge was happening and it was different, it was the first one, but it seemed like almost every couple of weeks there was more information coming out about it to keep building that anticipation and excitement. And yeah, I feel like this now they sort of just go, here's this big thing, give us all your money, and we'll see you again next year.
Yeah. We'll launch another HasLab before you've got the other HasLab.
Exactly.
It does seem
so
a
now
bit
that
like
there's
that.
the rumors and the leaks in there, I'm more excited about the next announcement of HasLab than I kind of am of getting the Ghost in hand, which seems a bit weird, but it is that overlap. It's like, oh.
I mean,
Yeah.
we've all seen the images of the Ghost at the SDCC, in hand, and it looks amazing. I don't think how anyone could be disappointed with that when they get it. But yeah, these things do take a long time, admittedly. But yeah, I'm excited for that as well.
Yeah.
I do like the ships and everything, but I think I get more excited about the figures. I think figures first, vehicles and afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah. And what excites me, I think, are those, we talked about a little bit before, the environmental pieces, like if, there was the palace last year and the bunker. Honestly, if we didn't have the palace last year, the bunker would have been my number one thing from last year. I've just wanted one of those for so long. I'm interested to see what the forge is going to look like. Oh, and the hallway, we're getting a hallway, Moff Gideon's hallway.
Yeah, so that'll be quite good because I do like the Tantive 4. It's just a great way of it's perfect for a shelf. So, it just sits back on a shelf and you can put, so many different figures with that. You've got the droids, Vader, the fleet troopers, stormtroopers. You can set it up however you like. You've got Captain Antilles if you want. So that's, to have like an Imperial version of that's pretty cool. I'm hoping it'll be quite universally Imperial rather than just like the inside of the light cruiser or whatever. If it can be used as like the inside of like the Death Star, for example, or a Star Destroyer, then you can use it for loads of different stuff. You don't just have to set it up with the Mando taking on Moff Gideon. You can use it for loads of different things. So be interesting to see what that looks like.
Yeah, it definitely has to have the Death Star walls, hopefully. Nick says, HasLab Sandcrawler or Lambda. I don't know, man. Like I've got the Disney Parks Sandcrawler, and that's good enough for me. I know people say it's it's not Hasbro or whatever, but it's pretty big. I think a HasLab Sandcrawler would be massive.
Is it bigger than the trilogy collection one, the Disney Parks one? It is.
Yeah. It's still nowhere near scale, but it is pretty solid. It's pretty big.
Yeah, well, it could never be scale. I mean, if you've seen how big a Sandcrawler is compared to the Razor Crest in that episode where the Jawas park up next to it to take apart the Razor Crest, it like dwarfs it, doesn't it? So you can imagine if they wanted it in scale with the Razor Crest, it would never work. But I'm with Nick. I would still want one because I just think, the paint apps and stuff that they can do on these vehicles. Like if you look at the Rogue One tank,
oh yeah,
something like that. But the skiff as well, the paint apps on the skiff's great. So something like that, but in the Sandcrawler would be great. And mine would just be standing there for the droid sale. I fully admit that that's what I'd be using it for. But as I've said before with that one, like they could make a dual purpose out of it. They could do the Mandalorian one as well, give you all like the flags and sheets or whatever they've got on the top, so you can plug those all in and make it into the Mandalorian version as well if you wanted to, the off-world Jawa version.
Yeah. Well, if it had a hollow interior, then you could make up for your loss of loft space. You could just store all your old stuff in there. Because it'd be huge, mate. It would be massive.
Yeah.
Put the kids' bikes in there, and the old toaster, and
no, they'd have to draw the line somewhere. I mean, that's the problem with it, isn't it? Whatever they did, no one would be happy with it because they go, oh well, it's next to my Razor Crest and it's the same size or whatever, So
yeah. I saw a funny one the other day, and someone had put a picture of the Sandcrawler, and then the caption was, Tesla have just announced their new cyber bus. I thought that was quite cool.
That would be cool. I'd buy one.
Neighbours would love that.
Yeah. I don't know, like the Sandcrawler is just so iconic, isn't it? Like, I just think it would look, I personally don't think it needs to be massive, ridiculously big. I saw someone did one recently, didn't they? 3D print one or build one or something, and even that is still not to scale. But I thought it looked really good.
Yeah. I'm really excited for whatever the HasLab turns out to be. We all know what it is, but I'm excited for the official announcement. Put it that way, and I'm surprised actually that they haven't come out and said anything. So you're not sure what's happening there.
Yeah, it's a little bit strange that they need to hurry up, don't they? Because the fact that it leaked is not doing them any favors, because when people don't know the full details about something, it just creates negativity, doesn't it? Because it's like, oh, it's it looks cheap, or the plastic looks cheap, or if it doesn't come with these figures, I don't want anything to do with it, or if it hasn't got lights and sounds, or just things like that. So until you actually know exactly what it is, what's on offer, we can't really comment on it, really.
Yeah, and I did feel really sorry for the Hasbro team. It's like, we had a pretty rubbish live stream, and everyone was grumpy about that. And they've got this exciting thing, and then it gets leaked, and to some extent, kind of steals their thunder. So I do feel bad for that.
Yeah, of course. And they had to delay it for what is obviously a legitimate reason. We don't know what that reason is, but they're not just going to delay it out of spite. There's obviously something that was holding it up. And just really unfortunate that just a week later it gets leaked. And it does spoil the thunder. It does. So whenever they do that reveal now, it's not going to have the same impact. It's impossible, because even with like the rumors, you know, nobody really like actually knows for sure. You know, it's like everyone's,
Yeah.
you know, people have heard this, heard that. Oh, it could be this, could be that. But still, you know, the live stream, and it's like, and it's this. It's like when they did the Ghost. Everyone knew it was going to be the Ghost, and but still, when it was announced, everyone was like, "Wow, you know, you've done an amazing job with the Ghost."
Yeah,
You know,
they did, and they got a really nice reveal of it as well.
Yeah,
at SDCC, wasn't it? And he brought out the model, the painted model, so that was a nice way to reveal it.
Yeah. So whatever they do now, that thunder's gone, because, or part of the thunder's gone. So
yeah,
it's a shame.
I thought the funniest criticism I saw, and I saw heaps of people say it, and I'm like, I'm not buying that. It doesn't have a floor. Like, seriously, mate, do you not have a shelf to put it on? That's your floor.
I know.
There we go. Job done.
This is the problem, and like you know, people see the price, and like $400. You know, it's not worth that. Well, from the just from the image that we've the grainy image that we had, yeah, I agree with you. It's not worth $400, but obviously that's not all there is. There's more to it, and until we know what there is, I can't really sort of say to you whether I think it's worth the money or not, because I want to know what comes with it. As simple as that.
Yeah,
and obviously it's going to come down to the figures, isn't it? You know, how many there are, which ones they are, whether they're new tooling or not. You know, whether one or two of them are reissued or whatever it might be. This is the thing; it's all just speculation, and nobody really knows. And until we know, it's hard to comment on it, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Old Nick's still banging on about this buddy sandcrawler. That's probably true, but you can't hang a sandcrawler from the ceiling, Nick. It would look silly.
Yeah, that's 6-inch. Do you remember that? Oh my god! I remember those were in the Entertainer over here for £50. I don't know what they were originally, but they were selling them for £50, and there was loads of them. You know, I just thought that was the most ridiculous thing. Like, who, you know, who's got space for that?
Yeah, and the market pretty quickly told them that. Like you say, it went to clearance. It was like,
yeah.
That's why we're the world building scale.
Exactly. Yeah.
Agree with
you know,
that.
But there is a limit. You know, like the Ghost is going to be huge. You know, you wouldn't really want something much bigger than that, would you? Because it's going to take up a lot of space. Not everyone has got infinite amount of space. So, you know, there are limits of what you can do. It's like, it always made me laugh. Like, you know, Black Series saying, "Oh, love an X-wing." And I think it was Patrick that said if we did an X-wing, it'd have a wingspan of 4 feet. So the barge is 4 feet, apparently. So you've got the wingspan of, you know, like this, and then the fuselage of it. This thing's going to be absolutely massive. Where the hell are you going to put that? It's nuts. So,
yeah, cool. Well, we've been going for just over an hour and a half. It must be getting pretty late where you are. We've had 50 people watching, which is pretty awesome for my live stream. I know it's a fraction of what normally watches yours, but it's awesome to have people here and interacting in the comments. But yeah, I'd just like to thank you again, Tim, for coming on. You really are a legend of TVC. Like, I love the work that you do. You know, the weekly series, the figure reviews, and then, you know, just like being an advocate for the community. So yeah, I really appreciate everything you do. And yeah, is there anything else you wanted to say before we?
Not really. No, I just appreciate you inviting me to come on. You know, thanks for all the kind words. I've never been one to be able to take compliments, especially on live on screen with people watching. So I get a bit
Sorry,
bashful,
mate.
but no, I appreciate it. And I really do. And yeah, I just love being part of the community and talking to everyone about, as I said to you before we came on, I could talk about Star Wars figures all day. So, but yeah, no, it's great to be invited on things like this. And I'll always be happy to attend.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And yeah, like you, just love talking about it with people like yourself that are, welcoming, and, it's a cool community and it's really supportive. So I just really appreciate that. And thank you everyone for coming along and watching and commenting. It's been good.
Yeah, and if anyone's watching that's found your channel tonight because I've put it out on social media and they've come over, then subscribe to the Middle-Aged Kiwi Man. Hit that subscribe.
Thank you, Tim. And in the extremely unlikely event that they know my channel and not yours, subscribe to Bossk Bounty. I know that's not the case, but yeah, no, really appreciate you, mate, and really appreciate everyone in the comments. And thank you so much for coming along. May the force be with you. Cheers, guys. Cheers, Tim.
Cheers.